Simple English News. Breaking news in simple English.
This video brings today's world news in simple English. It is made for English beginners who want real news with simple English. You can learn English and understand the world at the same time. President Donald Trump spoke with President Xi Jinping on Wednesday. They had a long talk on the telephone. They talked about many important things in the world. President Trump said the talk was very good. He said his relationship with President Xi is very strong. Both leaders want to keep a good relationship. They think it is important for their two countries. President Trump might visit Beijing in April this year. He told President Xi about his plan to travel. They also talked about many other big topics. These topics include trade, Taiwan, and the country of Iran. President Trump wants to work with China on these issues. The Chinese government also talked about the phone call. They said the two leaders discussed some big meetings. These meetings will happen later this year. However, China did not mention the visit in April. They only said the leaders might meet soon. The two presidents spent a long time talking about Iran. Tensions between the United States and Iran are very high. There were many protests in Iran last month. Many people were hurt or killed in those protests. President Trump is very unhappy about the situation. President Trump said he might use the military. He is thinking about taking action against Iran. He also wants Iran to change its nuclear program. The U.S. government says Iran's nuclear work is a problem. They say a war happened in June last year. During that war, many nuclear sites were bombed. Now, the U.S. wants more changes from Iran. There is some new news about talks with Iran. U.S. and Iranian officials will meet this Friday. They will meet in a country called Oman. At first, they wanted to meet in Turkey, but Iran asked to change the location to Oman. The United States agreed to change the meeting place. They did this to show respect to their friends. The White House is not sure about these talks. One official said they are very skeptical today. This means they do not think the talks will succeed, but they will still go and try to talk. This is part of a plan to isolate Iran. President Trump wants to stop other countries from helping Iran. He wants Iran to follow new rules. Last month, President Trump made a new rule. He said the U.S. will tax some imports. The tax will be 25% on some goods. This tax is for countries that trade with Iran. This is a very big problem for many nations. China is the biggest trading partner for Iran. China buys and sells many things with them. Iran has many sanctions against it for many years. These sanctions make it hard for Iran to trade. But Iran still does a lot of international business. In 2024, they did $125 billion in trade. They trade a lot with China and Turkey. They also trade with the United Arab Emirates. The World Trade Organization gave these trade numbers. President Xi and President Trump also talked about Taiwan. China says that Taiwan must be part of China. They call this a plan for reunification. Taiwan is an island that governs itself today. It has its own leaders and its own laws. But the government in Beijing says it is their land. This is a very difficult topic for both countries. In December, the United States sold weapons to Taiwan. This package of weapons cost $10 billion. It included many missiles, big guns, and drones. China was very angry about this sale of weapons. They said the US must be very careful. They said Taiwan will never be separate from China. This issue makes the relationship very tense. The leaders did not talk about Greenland on Wednesday. President Trump often says the US should take Greenland. Greenland is a big territory controlled by Denmark. President Trump says the US needs this island. He says it will stop China and Russia. But many experts say this is not true. They say there are no enemy soldiers there. Denmark and Greenland do not like this idea. Many leaders in Europe also said no to Trump. They say Greenland belongs to the people there. It is not something for the US to take. But President Trump still talks about it often. He thinks it is a very strategic place. He wants to protect the Arctic area. On the same day, President Xi talked to Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is the leader of Russia. They talked about nuclear weapons and other global issues. A very important treaty is ending very soon. This treaty is called the New START Treaty. It will expire this Thursday. This treaty limits the number of nuclear bombs. If the treaty ends, there are no limits. This has not happened for over 50 years. President Trump wants a new treaty for nuclear weapons, but he says China must be in the treaty. He told a newspaper that China should join. He thinks all big countries should have the same rules. President Xi is listening to these ideas. In Washington, there was another important meeting. Many leaders from Europe and Africa came to talk. They talked about things called critical minerals. These minerals are used to make many products. We need them for smartphones and jet engines. Right now, China controls most of these minerals. The US wants to change this situation. The US wants to build its own supply chain. This means they want to get minerals elsewhere. Vice President J.D. Vance spoke at this big meeting. He said countries should rely on themselves more. He said they should help each other instead. This would help their industries grow much faster. They want to be independent from China. President Xi is also meeting with other Western leaders. These leaders want to have better ties with China. They are worried about President Trump's trade taxes. They are also worried about his plans for Greenland. Many countries think global trade is changing fast. They want to find new partners for business. Last month, Vietnam and the European Union became partners. They want to work together on many things. The European Union and India also made a deal. This is a free trade agreement for their companies. These countries want to help their economies grow faster. They are making new deals without the United States. Canada also made a big trade deal recently. They will lower taxes on some Chinese products. In return, China will buy more Canadian farm goods. This helps the farmers in Canada sell more food. It also helps people buy electric cars easily. Many countries are changing their rules for trade now. The world is trying to adapt to new changes. Thanks for watching today's Easy English News. Please subscribe to get the latest updates every day. See you in the next video.